I want to introduce a new segment to you guys. It's called NFL Fire Chat. Obviously, we are in the teeth of the NFL. When we start to get to October and November, this is where we start to see separation a little bit in these divisions and what teams are who and who is trying to get on the phone and make a trade and who is like, hey, we're not a good team. We're preparing for the draft. These are the months where you start to see that. So
Unless
I
you're
want
the
to.
Dolphins, who are convinced that even though they can't beat the Colts, they can't beat the Patriots, they're 1-3, that they should still be full steam ahead for the playoffs, when in reality, we're just going to probably finish around 500, maybe not even get there, and not have a top pick in the draft, and probably release Tyreek Hill because he's injured. At least can't be traded, but release him because he's not going to make $30 million when he might not be able to run by the time that March comes around and he's on the roster for this roster bonus. So I don't really know what we're doing. I lost hope for them in week 1.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I just
Poor
needed to
Caleb.
get that out.
Poor Caleb. No, it's okay. Let it out. I don't. For my Steelers, I'm not like we're winning games, but it just doesn't look good. But winning, we haven't played the tougher, part of our schedule yet. So I'm just like very like even killed right now. I'm like,
You're winning
hey,
the
it's like
games you're
you're winning
supposed
the
to
games you're
win.
supposed to win, but I don't know, man. It's looking like another 9-8, 10-7 Tomlin, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. I'm just like, we got the Browns next week, and then we got Cincinnati, so we should win those games. They're both at home, but one of them's out. We got to go to Cincinnati. We play the Browns at home next week, but we'll see. I'm just like, I got to see more. I don't. I'm not. I think our O line is very suspect, especially on that left side. If this is the concern I had coming into the season, but we'll see. I just don't. I think the Cleveland Brown game scares me more because their defense is impossible. but
Yeah, I mean,
uh,
a live check-in, the Browns are now up 17-14 at the start of the fourth quarter. So,
there you go. There you go. Did they find their quarterback in Dylan Gabriel? We'll
oh
see. We'll
Jesus,
see.
that's a topic for another day.
We'll see that. We'll see that. But I want to get into today about this injury. All right, we've been talking about injuries since the top of the show, right? With Malik Neighbors being one of the big injuries that happened. Actually, just for context, Malik Neighbors got injured a couple weeks ago. It was a non-contact injury. Basically, he went up for the football, came down a little awkward. He was on his back. Well, they said that the injury happened when he was in midair. So I don't know if he just jumped a certain way into the air, and that's where he got injured. He came down, and that's what happened. But there was an article that came out, Kayla. Actually, it was a really pretty interesting read. So they were talking about
Mhm.
concerns about MetLife Stadium because they have artificial turf, and they were using MetLife Stadium as pretty much an example of the concerns that drive around the artificial turf. So I kind of rolled my eyes at it first. I'm like, I mean, it's everybody. I think about what 80% of the league has artificial turf at this point. I don't think too many teams still have natural grass. Maybe about 8 or 9 teams. That's maybe being generous, but if you really look at it, I use Najee Harris, his Achilles tendon tear. That was a non-contact. He pushed off, and you literally saw hit the back of his leg buckle, and I was like, oh, he tore his Achilles, and they have turf field. But since 2020, there have been 15 players that have had either a knee injury or Achilles related injury on the field at MetLife. They have inquired about this for both the Jets and the Giants, as they both play on that field, and they have said they have to also talk to the Meadowlands organization that owns the facility as well. And they say they have no plans in replacing the field to natural grass. So then I pose the question, like, is it injuries or is it just conditioning? Because let's be honest, a lot of these players don't do anything preseason. They don't. Coaches don't want to put their best players out in the field for conditioning reasons because they're like, we don't want to get injured. And then let's be honest, in college football, they're not doing like 2-a-days. I think they have very strict rules about like how many practices you can have. Some coaches don't even play certain players during the spring game. So football is one of those performative sports where you have to have repetition. You have to get your body ready to make certain moves, right? You have to have be very strong in plays, not just the weight room, but just getting on the field, getting hit, being prepared to get hit. A lot of players don't know how to get hit. They either are bracing awkwardly or they're turning their bodies in certain directions that put them at bad places. But I think I'm going to take the latter. Like, I think a debate can be made for artificial turf being a problem because I don't have the number in front of me, but I'm sure it's really bad across the board when it comes to artificial turf over the years. I'm just using pretty much the article that ESPN put out about Malik Neighbors and the example of MetLife Field since they've had 15 knee and or Achilles related injuries. And I will say that artificial field, I've been on artificial field and I can tell you it's not, I always question like, I don't know if this is safe because when it gets cold, it's basically like hard. It's not, it sounds like you can hear the field. Like if you've been to a game and you sit on the front row, you can hear the players' feet literally hitting the turf, which means it's not really soft. It's not like, sometimes depending on how you maintain the field, right? It's not the most like comfortable to really play on, I would say, or get hit on, I would say, but I'm not playing at a professional level. But also just what I laid out about the conditioning point. Some of these players just don't. I mean, the older you get, it's kind of hard to ask a 28 to 35-year-old to, hey, go full speed like you would in the regular season and preseason. They're gonna be like, why? We have 17 regular season games. It's a sprint, not a marathon. Like I should be playing in these games. So I just think that there is no definitive science yet in regards to natural grass versus artificial turf. So, but I think it's something that the NFL should take a look at because as NFL fantasy coaches, and we are, me and Kayla, like we were tired of seeing our star players go down with Achilles and or knee injuries. And there seems to be a lot of them that happen over the years. And it's just, is it the field or is it conditioning? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, first, I think you added a lot of good insight to the topic, gave some background. The only thing that I could think of when you were trying to explain what turf feels like is it just feels like you're running on concrete. Like it doesn't matter if you're barefoot, you're in cleats, if it's cold, if it's hot. I played enough soccer games to know that I preferred grass so much more. And if the argument is, oh, field maintenance, like this is why these people make more money than David and I do working in news to attain to a field. Like just hire the people to make the field look pristine. I really don't think I get into a sports matchup and I'm like, oh, this field looks like shit. Like obviously if the game goes on and like you see these tufts of grass and dirt coming up, okay. But I don't see the benefit or the reason that you need turf fields. From experience, my feet would hurt after playing on turf. It literally felt like pounding concrete. But I think that if we only looked at this topic when big name players get injured, then that would like sway my opinion a little bit more without doing the research. I would like to see all of, even if it's just the fields in the NFL that have turf, that we make a spreadsheet and we compare, injuries in a certain time period. Like I'd be really interested to see that. But there are players for both the Jets and the Giants that have been affected, have had season-ending injuries because of this home field. And there have been these big name players, or there have been notable injuries throughout even the last couple years. Like this is when I feel like I've really started paying attention since really the COVID year. I mean, I know Odell Beckham had a season-ending injury or a significant ankle injury or something like before that in 2017, I want to say. But like the one that jumped out to me the most was Jalen Phillips, who's a defensive end for the Dolphins. Obviously, he was playing against the Jets. He blew his Achilles in 2023. Aaron Rodgers, as a member of the Jets, played 4 snaps and then was done. But and while you go, oh yeah, big name Nick Bosa, you can also look at the Giants. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson blew his ACL, who could very well be the number 1 receiver now that Malik Neighbors is out. But why does it take multiple players from the same team? I know they play at home, but like that's something to look at. Or Sterling Shepard, I believe it was the same year as Wan'Dale Robinson on the same team, and you're like, what do I gotta do? So I don't know. I'm all for team grass.
No, for sure. You know, interesting fact. I actually talked about this with my girlfriend like yesterday, and she mentioned to me because she's from New York, and she says where the stadium is played is called the Meadowlands because the stadium is built on over a literal swamp. So I don't know if, for context, I don't know if that has anything to do with just like if it rains, if it floods, or if it whatever if that plays a factor into it. But look, the reason why I say it's the latter is because okay, the Commanders when they played at FedEx, they have natural grass and they've had a plethora of injuries. I mean, you can go back to RG3 and the knee injury. You can go back to
Alex Smith.
Alex Smith, right? And he in the way he got injured. So it's at the end of the day, it's still football. Like injuries are going to happen. That's part of the sport. But I don't know about you, but it just seems like within the last 5 years, like there have been like these big name guys. And you're like, you're as a fan, you're like, oh, I'm looking forward to seeing them. Like this is a big year for them. And all of a sudden, it's like they get on these fields, and it's like, oh wait, a knee injury or Achilles within like week 3 and week 4. We're not talking about like November where there's been a lot of football players, a war of attrition that's going on. We're talking about happening within the first month of the league year. And I think it's something that if I was reading, just kind of quote another part of this ESPN article, they actually are looking into, getting feedback. A lot of players said that, they are concerned to the point where, if more of these injuries continue to happen, they're talking about sitting out games because they may not feel safe to be on these turfs. So it's a big talking point. I think that's going to be in the off season about, hey, whether we make natural turf or a certain type of new turf the standard across the NFL. Like I said, not all teams have turf fields right now, so it's kind of like you're playing on natural grass in some places, and other places you're playing on the turf. I just feel like when it gets cold, it's very unsafe. I mean, you've seen concussions kind of go up. You've seen
True.
fools ankle injuries kind of go up, and it's just a lot of, let's be honest, a lot of the playoffs are in colder states. So obviously the Bills are good right now. It's in Buffalo, New York. It's a monsoon of snow that happens around like December, January. Kansas City, it was negative 22 degrees when they played a game out there. Now I don't think they have a turf field out there, so that's a bad example, but still nonetheless, like these are very extreme hazardous conditions. And I understand as well, most NFL stadiums are like roof covered. So, you got to take that into effect as well. But I hope they look at the technology. Maybe they take a step back and maybe they do some thorough research about like, okay, this is the many injuries that are happening. This is something that we can do to kind of improve the game, because I just hate it for the fact of being a fan of a player and you can't experience them and they're in their prime and or they're on the tail end of their career like Tyreek Hill, and you're not having a ACL tear past 30 plus is not really ideal, but it's happening across the league. So that's my thoughts there. Did you have any other fire chat
Yeah,
topics that you want to
I
get into?
not any topics, but to build on, I didn't even think about the concussions.
Yep.
And if you think about it, falling in general, if you fall on grass, grass has a little bit to give. Not a lot, but it's not just like if you dig your knee or you dig your elbow or something into the
Mm-hmm.
grass, you're gonna divot it in. But if you
Yep.
are on the turf, you're not. So that I just feel like my thoughts and everything is just sprouted out while you were talking. Because you do see the smack of the head, which is so
Yep.
scary to see.
It's violent.
Um,
Yeah.
I've had enough concussions that like seeing it, I'm like, oh, concussion, or oh, he could be okay. But on turf, when he smacks that, it's again hitting concrete.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I would like to. I can't imagine they're not going to look further into this. I don't know how long we're going to have to wait. Um,
Probably this off season. I don't think there's anything they can do about it in season. I think it just is what it
yeah,
is. But I just think if we kind of get to the end of October, then we have more big names that continue to go down on these turf fields. I think that the league kind of leans on some type of research or medical advice to try to, have that conversation with coaches. Of course, they'll have a vote with the owners of like, hey, we want the standard to be this type of field now, or hey, now we want, with concerns with knee injuries and players, we're trying to keep our players safe. They are money makers, so we want to make sure these guys are upright for big matchups. So it's not like the Vikings. Well, I'll give you an example. I watched the Rams in San Francisco. Like, I didn't know that San Francisco had that many injuries as well. Like, I'm like, everybody's injured, but they still managed to win the game. But, you know, that's just one of those, like, why are you missing 12, 13 players in the middle of the season?
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. So if you don't have
Talking
anything,
about missing 12 to 13.